Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be explaining the 17 mythological creature cards, which are part of the board game Cyclades from Matagot. So if you're invited to play this game, or if you simply need a refresher on these creatures, this is the video for you. I'll be sharing some strategies, but also explaining the basics of these cards. This is a screenshot from the rulebook. I'll be flashing it also at the end of the video. So if something is not clear, you could pause the video there and read through. There are several videos explaining how to play the game itself, but I couldn't find a video talking about the cards. And I do believe if you want to win the game, it's important to know what the cards do, right? So let's explore the cards. Each of these 17 creatures have a card associated, but 5 of them also have a figurine, which will be used in the game, and we'll also be talking about these. So these are the 17 cards that are part of the game. It might seem a bit overwhelming in the beginning, but you get a hang of it as you play the game. And what helps, especially, is this tiny illustration at the bottom of each card, with which you can recall what a card does. So it's okay to not know all the cards, as long as you can interpret this and also remember what are the most important cards. This is a typical setup of the game. As you might know, the cards go here. This is where the cards are piled in the beginning, and as the game proceeds, the cards come out and the players have the possibility to buy the cards. And once a card is bought, the player has to use the card right away. Or if a card is not bought, the card moves to this discard pile. The important thing here to remember is if you want to buy a certain card, you have to try to be on a god or win the favors of the god that is on the top. So in this case, the yellow player would have the first choice in buying the cards. Only if the yellow player doesn't buy any of these cards, then the players after the yellow player will have the possibility to buy the cards. So if the yellow players buys all 3 cards, then none of the cards are available for the players later. All right, let's have a look at the cards now. So I'm going to be using this setup. On the left-hand side, I'll be pulling up the cards. And on the right-hand side, I would use an image like this, which is from a gameplay. And using this image, we would be explaining what the cards do. So in this particular image, you could see that there are armies from 5 players. So yellow, red, blue, green, and black. You see some ships as well. You also see 2 metropolis built, right? The red player has one, the black player also has one. You see some small buildings as well. And as you might know that in order to build a metropolis, a player has to have these 4 different types of buildings. And the 2 cards we are going to talk about have something to do with these small buildings. So let's look at Cyclops first. So as you can see the illustration here, with Cyclops, you could change one of your buildings into a different type. Let me explain that with an example. So if you focus on the buildings from the yellow player, she has 4 buildings, but of 3 different types, right? So there's a fortress here, there's another fortress here, there's a university here, and a port here. So if the yellow player were to buy Cyclops, she could convert one of the fortress into a temple, right? This type of building, then she would have 4 different types of buildings, and then she could easily build a metropolis. On the contrary, the giant does something opposite. So if the red player, let's say, wants to stop the yellow player from building a metropolis, the red player could buy the giant card and use it against the yellow player and destroy one of her buildings. So Cyclops is used to convert your own building into something else, and Giant is used to destroy someone else's building, right? That's the difference. The Giant cannot be used to destroy Metropolis. It just acts against these small buildings. All right, moving forward, Harpy. So with this card, you could kill a soldier. So if you want to weaken someone, you simply buy this card and the soldier is removed from a board. So let's say the yellow player uses Harpy, pays for Harpy, and kills this soldier, and suddenly this metropolis is up for grabs, right? So even if the soldier is killed, the red player still owns this island, But if some other player just comes here, the island belongs to them without any battle, right? So Harpy is used to simply kill a soldier. It could also be used, for example, in a defense move where the yellow player uses Harpy to kill one of the soldiers from the black player because the yellow player thinks that the black player is about to attack her because he has this connection with the ship here. So it's highly likely that the black player might attack, for example, and then the yellow player thinks of weakening the black player using Harpy. Okay, next card, Siren. Using this card, you could change an opponent's ship to your ship. So for example, here, if we focus here, the green player has a connection to the blue player, let's say using this ship. And if the blue player feels like, hey, this guy might attack me, so I'm going to change this particular ship using this card to my ship. So this can be used to block, for example, the green player from visiting or attacking the blue player. The other option is to simply change this ship here, where the yellow player might lose a ship and the blue player would place their own ship here and therefore make incomes from this sea space. Or another example is let's say the black player uses this card against the red player and replaces this ship to their own ship so that they have a connection to the metropolis, right? So the black player already owns a metropolis. If he's on Ares, he can move here. And then if this ship was already converted using this card, then he could easily come here and also have the second metropolis, right? The only scenario in which this card can't be used against a ship is if the ship has one or more ships along with it. So it only acts against a single ship. Against two or more ships, this card is not effective. You couldn't change one ship here into your own ship, for example. The black player couldn't do this. All right, the next card. Using this card, you could sell your stuff and get 2 coins for every item that you sell. So as you might know, as the game progresses in every cycle, you might be recruiting some soldiers, you might be building ships, you might also be having priest cards and philosopher cards. Here, let me show them in this photo. So here the yellow player has over time gathered some priests and some philosophers, right? And also has some ships and some army. And if the yellow player needs some money right now to do some moves, but doesn't have enough, the yellow player could buy this card and trade or sell some of the cards or some of the ships and soldiers and get money for it. So for example, let's say the yellow player does not need this ship. So she's going to sell this ship, one of these ships, and let's say one of these cards. So she's going to sell 1, 2, 3 items. And for each of them, she gets 2 coins. So in total, she would be getting 6 back. So you could use this card to get some money when you're short of money, right? All right, the next card, Fates. This is a pretty powerful card. If you buy this card, you could get your incomes or revenue once again that you received at the beginning of the cycle. So let's assume that this is the beginning of the cycle. So each player is allowed to take their income now. And for example, for the red player, it would be 1, 2, 3, and 4 incomes from these cornucopias that they have from the land and the sea spaces. So the red player, if the red player buys this card, he would get the income 4 again. Similarly, if the yellow player were to buy this card, the yellow player has a lot more income. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one here, 6. There's 2 here, 7, 8, 9. And there's one here, 10. So if the yellow player were to buy this card, the yellow player would get 10 coins again. So it is a pretty powerful card that allows you to get your revenue one more time that you got at the beginning of the round. So it makes sense to buy this card for the yellow player more than it does for the red player. All right, moving on. These 2 cards are pretty cool because these are the only 2 cards that allow you to move your ships and your army even without having the favors of Poseidon and Ares. Let me explain what I mean by that. So as you might know, if you want to move your ships, you need the favors of Poseidon. So in this particular cycle, only yellow player could move their ships, while only the red player could move their armies. And the only exception to these rules are these two cards. So, for example, let's assume that the green player wants to move their ships. They could buy this card and move the ships up to 10 positions. So let me demonstrate that. So let's say the green player buys this cards and moves the ships like this. So 1, 2, 3, picks this ship on the way, 4, 5, 6. So essentially what the green player does here is move both these ships over here. And it would look something like this, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, one ship was dropped here, 5, and the last ship was moved here, 6. Why did the green player do this? To kind of build a connection to this metropolis, which is pretty weak, and he plans to attack it in the next round, right? So this card can be used to move your ships even when you're not on Poseidon. Similarly, Pegasus is even more effective and one of the stronger cards, I would say. You don't even need to move your ships. With Pegasus, you could simply fly from one island to another. So it is more powerful than this card because here you would have to wait for the next round to be on RS and then move your soldiers. But with Pegasus, the green player just buys this card and simply flies here, and there would be a battle. The green player could, however, decide if he wants to take all of these guys from this island or just one or two, but he couldn't pick from some other island, for example. So pick up your soldiers from one island and they fly to another island. So that's why I think Pegasus is powerful. Similarly, if the red player wanted to use Pegasus, the red player could buy the card and bring, for example, this guy who's stranded on this island. He could bring him, fly him over here so that this metropolis is a bit stronger, right? So it's also another example of Pegasus. Moving on, these are associated with stealing the priest and the philosopher cards. So also in this image, you can see, for example, this player here, the yellow player has gathered some priests and philosopher during the last cycles. So using this card, you could steal a philosopher from the yellow player. And using this card, you could steal a priest from the yellow player. That's what these cards are for, right? Pretty simple. You simply buy the card and steal the priest or the philosopher from one of the other players. If you already have 3 philosophers, you could steal the 4th one and build a metropolis. If you see someone has 3 philosophers and they might build a metropolis by buying the 4th philosophers, you could steal it from them to stop them. So let's have a look at Griffon. As the image here shows, you get to steal half of what a player has, like half of their coins. So as you might know, as the game progresses, you also make income every round, and the incomes you make, you hide it behind these screens. And Griffon basically allows you to steal half of this from one particular player. So let's say the yellow player would buy this card Griffon and use it against the black player, then they would get half of whatever the black player has. So you weaken the player by stealing half of the coins that they have. At the same time, you also kind of empower yourself, right? If this player has 10 coins, you would get 5. If they have 9, you would get 4. All right. Then Chimera. Using Chimera, you could select one of the cards from the discard pile. So if you're sure there was a card in the past cycles that was pretty strong, or that is something you want to use now, you could buy Chimera and select the card from the discard pile. So you basically take the full pile in your hand, you see what cards are there, and then you use one of the cards. So it is a very powerful card. If you know there was a strong card that was available in the last cycles, or if you want to use one of these cards twice. What do I mean by that? Is simply you use this card, right? Use it against someone's, then place it here. Then you buy Chimera if it's available. and use that card again against someone. The only thing to remember with Chimera is once it's used, you mix both the piles, shuffle, and then place a new pile here again. Then moving to the last 5 cards. So these are the cards with the figurines. Let's have a look at each of them. So Minotaur, so wherever you place him, he adds +2 in defense. So for example, if the red player were to buy Minotaur, this figurine would be placed on this island and +2 is added in defense. So this island would be 1, 2, 3, 4 strong, right? And if this island is attacked, then the soldiers are killed before the Minotaur is killed, right? Similarly, in a defense move, another example, like if the yellow player is suspicious that the black player might attack this island, then the yellow player could buy Minotaur place here, and then she is 1, 2, 3, 4 plus Minotaur, so 6 strong, right? So it's a good defense card. Next figurine we have is Chiron. So if you buy this card, it protects you against these 3 cards that we saw just previously. So if you buy this card and place it on an island, let's say, then no building on that island can be destroyed, no soldier from that island can be killed, and also no one can fly to that island using Pegasus. So would also be, for example, a useful card for the red player in this scenario, so that no one flies to them or tries to destroy this soldier, or yeah, building destroying is not possible here because it's anyway a metropolis. Moving on, Medusa. So wherever you place her, entering that island is possible, but leaving that island is not possible. So same example here. So if the yellow player believes that the black player is about to attack them, then the yellow player could simply buy this card, place Medusa here, and then for 1 round, this army here is like frozen and they cannot leave this island. So at least for 1 round, the yellow player is sure that the black player won't be able to attack her. Right? Another example of Medusa, similarly here, the yellow player has a metropolis and a juicy island because you see there's a lot of income coming from this island. So the yellow player fears that the green player might attack him because he has this ships connected where this guy and this guy could come together and then together they could attack this island, for example. So then the yellow player could simply place Medusa here. So these 2 guys can enter this island, but together all the army here, they can't come to this island even if they have a ship because of Medusa. So they are locked on that island for 1 round. Next, Polyphemus. So wherever you place this guy, the ships are pushed away by 1 position. So let me explain that by an example. So let's say the red player places this guy on this island, right? So he's placed here. Then all the ships have to move by are pushed away by 1 position. So, and the player who places him gets to decide where the ships are pushed. So for example, this ship is pushed here. This one is pushed here, for example, or it could also go here. It doesn't have to go there. This one could be moved here. But what happens here, it's still within his throwing radius, let's say. So it's still like 1 sea space away from where this figurine is placed. And what happens is he basically then throws this stone on this ship and destroys this ship. These 2, they will have to moved here because this is the only place that is available. All right, so we saw 4 out of the 5 cards with the figurines. And the important thing to remember about the 4 is that they are applicable to the land or to the islands and not the sea space. And there are 2 more other things that you need to remember is that they're valid for 1 round and no 2 can be placed on 1 island. So valid for 1 round, meaning let's say the red player buys this card, places the figurine on yellow player's island, then it stays there for 1 round. So for this round and until in the next round, it's the turn of the red player again. So it's valid for 1 round until it's the player who plays, it's their turn again. And the second rule that no 2 of these figurines can be on 1 island. So if there's a figurine that is placed on your island that you don't want there, and there's another card available with the figurine, you could simply buy that card and place that one on your island, and then they cancel out each other. So that's a cool way to get rid of one of these figurines if it's placed on your island that you don't want it there, right? Moving on to the last card, Kraken, release the Kraken. So this guy simply eats ships. If the card appears, you simply pick him up from wherever he was left before, or if he was standing outside before, you pick him up and place him somewhere, and he would eat the ships there. So for example, let's say the yellow player buys this card, picks this figurine and places it here, then this ship is destroyed because the Kraken is placed here. And you could move the Kraken by paying 1 coin. So if the yellow player now, after placing the Kraken here, wants to move it here, for example, the yellow player could pay 3 coins, 1, 2, 3, and also destroy this ship just to annoy the black player or weaken the black player, right? It could pay then 2 more coins to also move the ship further, move the Kraken further, and also destroy this ship. So basically, when the Kraken card comes, you buy the card, you grab the figurine, you place it somewhere, and then you pay 1 for each move of the Kraken, and it will eat all the ships along the way. Unlike the other figurines, the Kraken figurine would stay wherever it was last used. It only can be moved from wherever it was placed when the card comes again, and then someone buys the card and moves the Kraken, right? All right, that was it. So these were the 17 mythological creature cards that we spoke about. Thank you for bearing with me. I hope this was helpful. This would definitely help in saving some time of your host who has invited you to play this game, right? Please pause this video here and look at the descriptions in case I've made a mistake or if something wasn't clear. And I hope you liked the video. And if you want to support me, the links are in the description. Thank you, have fun, and may the best player win. Bye-bye.